Yes, write all over it. You guys can write all over that. It's yours to keep. There are sticky notes, and then it looks like you guys got the highlighters too. So you'll grab this first one here. That will actually be at the end.
Oh, we don't need this till the end?
The code, yes, but the slips you won't need until the end.
King Kong, Good Text, New York.
Oh, got it.
Going after one.
So you can see I gave you the same exact one, just there's two. This one's easier for our EL students, and then you have this for our better students, our more advanced students.
Perfect.
So it's kind of almost a KW. So where does this message?
Cool.
Thanks.
I mean, or yeah.
I mean, I know I added him to mine, but created it, but I didn't know. Otherwise, the test won't come up.
It says USA up at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, the other one's big behind Sandra.
Well, because this is a U.S. piece of propaganda about the Japanese. Well, anyway, sorry. The list of people, places, objects. Oh, okay, we talked about the monkey, the one.
The Japanese flag.
I think that's for the videos, right?
Yeah, I like
Maybe it could be World War I.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. So you're gonna have a really funny one of me going, whoa.
That's okay. The one I took of our computer science, at one point there's just Carl that's staring at it, and then like he's standing there and I'm talking, so like I can't even delete that.
Are we watching this video? Just don't want to do the wrong thing. It's a 5 minutes.
Yeah, so you watch the video and then you go to the website and there's a little quiz at the bottom based off of what you learned from that video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try to make sense of it. When is it from? Which is World War II. What happened in history? War. Oh, it could have been like right after Pearl Harbor. Even the Japanese invading Alaska.
The intended audience is the American.
How was it created? Probably the Civil War.
Did everyone sign in?
No.
No. Okay. I'll pass that around again.
Pro-war, you said? Dehumanization as well. Find out from this culture that you might not elsewhere. Is this a station?
It will be. I'll let you know when we move to the next station.
Oh, we're switching when you say switch?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't think think the poster did. So when the questions are false perception of. So when it says what did you find out, well, there's no real information. That's what I'm asking, right?
Well, maybe, but if I'm like, putting my own idea what it looks like. Now my idea is they're yellow, they're scary, they have big long nails like an animal. You know, I'm saying like kids get pull those things away and.
And then you have white lady just right here.
Well, I didn't mean to. I finished the practice and that said take unit test to level up. I was like, yeah.
So yeah, okay. So can you other good points? So we learned what an impression like that.
What other documental events are you going to use? Pictures from the center.
I haven't heard of that one before.
I let my mind wander.
You guys got signed in? Yes?
What did you say? Hard to say crash.
Maybe that must be the plural. No, he said spacecraft. Plural.
Do we want to use the other format?
Try and watch the video. Probably covered that.
We're going to use this formatted one.
We have about 2 minutes left. Start wrapping up.
Is this one any different than this, or just organized?
It's just organized.
I didn't expect you guys to go the whole way through.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Have you guys all signed in?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And you guys all signed in, correct?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You didn't. So it asks questions on it. Observe the parts. Yeah, aircraft. What are the main colors? Are there any symbols? Write 2 words that describe the colors. That's over there.
And this one's a whole section.
Is this the Free Khan Academy?
This is basically like a KW.
If you guys finish up, you guys can explore Khan Academy and see what you guys can use within your own class.
KWL?
You know, like what do you know about? First thing you'd have to
How
give
did
it
you
the
find
topic.
these?
What
Like,
did you?
what did you put in your search or whatever?
On Khan Academy?
Yeah.
I actually was just sort of looking through, and I was actually looking for it for computer science. And then I just started exploring, and it had this part that, it said grammar, and I was like, yay!
Yeah.
So I looked at it and started playing around with it and realized that it has every single section. I was like, this is beautiful. It's something that the kids can go and they can practice. They can listen to a video explaining step by step on how to do it. I was like, this is exactly what. So I figured you guys would want to know that they now have grammar on Khan Academy.
Oh, I didn't write it. I'm sorry. I'm spacing out.
All right, so go ahead and wrap up. Pack up your stuff, head to the next station. Reading station will come over here to the teacher station.
Oh, I'm already there.
Yeah. Grammar station will go to the political cartoon station. Political cartoon station will go to the research station. Research station goes down to the reading station. You do not need your computers for this one.
Good skill. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Notice how I don't ask permission.
Yeah, oh, except for that, those 2 lines. I'm just glad to read something.
Yeah, the one ahead of us.
papers all weekend.
All right, so everyone brought their packet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I took that article from your workbook, the 8th grade workbook, over looking at if you can learn history. And then I went on to StudySync and I found the scaffolds, which is what this is. So this is the scaffolds for what the kids are looking at as they're reading. And then I looked at what the final assignment is and then how to scaffold that. So that's what this worksheet is. So this is sort of the station once the kids have had the chance to actually look at and read it themselves. This is the part where you can really differentiate and find out what don't the kids know. So when they're going through this, I need to start my 10 minutes. There we go. So when their kids are going through, if they're EL students, then you might really have to go back and read the document together and really look at and find out the key points and answer those questions on what is the key point and what kind of vocabulary don't they recognize, and then having that discussion. But if you have advanced students, you can then instead use this, and this is the focus questions, and then really go in depth and analyze that document. So this could be something that is fully online, so the students are online there and they're looking at those documents and they're learning from it, and then they're able to use the scaffolds on the document. Or if we're in history, they have those a Supreme Court case or the primary source documents, and they can be looking through that or looking through the chapter, and then here you're going through it. That reading station could be reading, or it could be a video. It could be, it's whatever you might have assigned outside of class that's sort of an addition to whatever we're doing in class, and then related to what the rest of the stations are. So, what did you guys see in your document? What's the main argument for both sides?
Using fiction to teach history can help the children, help the students relate to the material and create an emotional experience that wants them to seek knowledge.
Yeah. All right, what was the counter argument? Yeah.
Be careful because you're not teaching the real stuff.
History.
I thought
That was a very good one. As someone from the South Dakota, yes, that is a very good one. Good example.
You mean that's not real?
No, it's not. No, it brings those lovely questions of, I get the questions when I worked in tourism. Do you still fight the Indians in your front yard? It is so embarrassing when you get that question. You're like, you are from America, you went to school, why are you asking me this question? The dumber one is, where do you put Mount Rushmore in the winter? Yes, that is an actual question that we get working in tourism there. Yeah.
Where do you put it?
Rushmore Cave.
Carpet.
Yes, it's lovely. So what were the examples that they gave, sort of backing up their thesis for that?
On how it's not accurate?
On how it's not accurate.
The camps were fully fenced and guarded.
With the fact that a German boy wouldn't know how to pronounce Auschwitz or the Führer's name.
Or not have an understanding of what really is going on. They probably did.
Yeah. Especially at 9.
Yeah, very true. What about the, is it the point or the pro point for why they should be teaching or using it to teach history?
Kids relate to kids.
That's very true.
They are.
Just makes it irresistible. It gives them something to enjoy, I guess. Or like a word. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. For me, I went into history because I liked historical fiction. I mean, it's the whole reason, because I like the stories and the people that, would say, okay, is that a real person or not, and then go in and research it. I'm the nerd that likes research, though, so, not all kids are going to have that. So being able to look at it and say, this is true, this is not true, why isn't this true, could be something you could do in this kind of station. Sort of looking at that story that you guys, I think, if you're going through that workbook, you would have read before this, or at least that excerpt from that, and then go through maybe that document and say, all right, what's true and what's not true, and then let's look at the arguments that they had in here. So you're really relating and you're scaffolding that information. So on here, go ahead and fill out. So you can either do the scaffold on this side or the paragraph that I broke down on the other side. Either one.
Already stole the secret.
She's got some on. Thank you.
Which one?
That's actually what I understand.
I know you tried to do less work and it didn't work,
I
huh?
know, it made me think more.
How they tried to influence their own views.
You guys finding everything okay on here? Do you guys notice the document that I have? It's the same exact one. This is just for EL students or low level, and then these are for our rest of our students. So it's the same exact questions, just broken down a little bit further for this one. A little bit easier to understand words, so you can use it based off of what the kind of students that might be at this station at that time. Okay, Dan, you guys finding everything? Okay.
I'm familiar with Khan Academy, that's just, let's go on to the next.
What I've done before is give a different political question to each group for the kids, and then they can, they to the groups that draw on one issue, with different sides of the issue.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that,
Because we don't have earphones either. We don't have earphones, so we can't do something.
I have.
You have earphones?
No, not anymore.
Is there a yeah, so instead of this, of that, this quiz, right? Are we supposed to fill out that quiz? Or are we supposed to fill out this?
Okay, so you'll go to this quiz here.
Okay.
And then once you answer that, then you'll go and put your answer in that Google form. Should be, maybe. No. Let's go back here. Click on that again. There it is. Okay. I'm like, why isn't that? And then it's at the bottom.
Right here where it says start.
Yeah. Oh, you missed it. This one right here. Start here. All right, we have about 2 minutes left.
It's supposed to be after it goes under, okay? The flavors of ice cream. That one talked about one of those.
Right.
I wonder if it's just, there's not a, unless they were going, the author is going,
Yeah, he was assuming it's the last one first. Like college John.
like, see how he looks like, it looks like he loses. He looks like he's trapped. He's worried.
I can't get that far yet. But in the
All right, so we got about 2 seconds left. All right, wrap up. Pack up your stuff. You'll head to the next station. I need the focus questions back.
I wrote on them.
Okay, that's fine. Yep, perfect. And you guys will move over there.
Do we need?
You will not need anything to write with for that one, so I'll get your. Thank you.
We need our tech at that one?
Yes, you will need your tech at that one. Hello, hello.
Have it there. Don't worry about it.
There's a chair here, 2 chairs over there. Oh, perfect. Then that means I get to sit. I'll start it. Making sure everyone gets there.
Underline the word when you come across an important.
All right, 10 minutes start now. Okay, so on here, so the last station was the in-class flip. So that was the station that students are doing sort of the homework that you would have assigned outside of class, in class. And that station really could be done completely online because that is an article that is from the StudySync materials. And so they could have gone through that. And then this right here, this side, is actually the scaffolds that go with that. So I just printed them out so you guys could all see that. And so they could do that in class, so they could do that completely online, including the scaffolds, and then we can come over here.
So you got this from StudySync?
Yep, so the
What grade
articles,
is this?
8th grade. So the article came from the workbook, or it came from online, depending on which way you wanted to go. And then these focus questions are from the workbook. I think they're online as well. So these could be something you could do with like your advanced students. Your students that already understand the material can go beyond just needing those scaffolds. But for our EL students, it could be this time when you're sitting down and actually reading through the document with them, analyzing the document, answering specific questions, and going through this document together. So on this side, you have some of the different questions looking at the main focus for both the point and the counterpoint, the benefits and why, you know, and sort of the counterpoint, the counter arguments for that. On the other side, this is the paragraph explaining the whole thing, but it's broken down into 3 different sentences. So it's not one big clump of words that they need to read. It's something a little bit easier for them to understand. So we are going to go through what is the main thesis for both the point and the counterpoint. Why should we teach history, or why should we use fiction to teach history, and why shouldn't we?
The 4 is fiction can make history matter.
Irrelevant.
And then why shouldn't we?
It can be misleading.
So what's an example for why it would be misleading? What's an example of a piece of fiction, whether it's a movie or a book, that you can use as an example for why using that to relate to history?
So, one runs the risk of giving readers a distorted view of the Holocaust. So, in one paragraph I read that the boys would have never met because that would never happen. And the 9-year-old boy, the one outside of the camp, would know the reason why the kid inside of the fence would be there.
Or like
So-
how they were saying, right, they said, what was it? Except for a few peculiar cases, there were no Jewish children in the extermination camps. They were gassed on arrival.
Yes. Yeah.
They probably wouldn't be able to talk.
Yeah. So an example of a movie that has really bad, like it's really well known, but it has really inaccurate information. Dances with Wolves.
That's
Yeah.
funny, I was thinking of that.
It's sort of like the universal, this is a really bad example, and from someone from South Dakota, it is a big insult. Like, it leads to questions like, as I used to work underneath Mount Rushmore at one of the tourist shops, and we would get, do you still fight Indians in your front yard? Yes, serious question. And you'd have to be like, no. You'd also get questions from stuff like that of, I think the dumbest question I always got was, where do you put Mount Rushmore in the winter? As a serious question. Because you watch some of this stuff and you don't, and like they don't understand that it's a real thing. So we always answer Rushmore Cave because, you know, you answer stupidity with sarcasm, you know. But using an example like that, you know, it is very true that you really have to make sure that the students can identify that and find that. So something you could do to sort of show that, it could be maybe the article that you would be reading before this would be an excerpt from Boy in Striped Pajamas. So you go through and identify what's real and what's not real. And so you can sort of point out and say, yes, Auschwitz was a real place. Yes, there were a couple kids there. No, they wouldn't have been able to meet because it was very well guarded. No, that son would not be, would know what Auschwitz was and knew what the Jews were doing there. And so you could, show them that yes, this does have some real stuff, but it doesn't have fully real stuff. And then, for the point, the whole reason I got my master or my endorsement in history is because I liked historical fiction. So there is that point that it does relate to the kids. The fact that it's a 9-year-old makes it a little bit more relatable than if it was a 40-year-old meeting another 40-year-old on the other side of the gate. The kids are going to relate. They're going to be interested in the story a little bit better than, if we used a lot more factual facts in that. So in our last about 5 minutes, go ahead and start filling out. You can either do this side here, or you can do that side, either one, based off of what you did. Go the easier route, or you can write sentences. We have about 2 minutes left of class. Go ahead and start wrapping up.
What are you doing? Taking
You can only get on the website, right?
You can get it on the website. This side here has like the full paragraph on the workbook, but it's not broken down, which is why I went online and found that. Yeah. But you could do the whole thing. You could do this whole thing online because it is broken down online.
I just wanted to know if you could find it in the book.
Yes.
though.
Not in the book,
Yeah.
but you can find it online.
Right, okay.
Any questions about the last two sessions you had?
I like this one where it talks about how they cite some of the same sources, but they use it in a very different way, and I was like, oh, I caught that.
It relates to the bias that we're sort of also talking about, where you're trying to argue on one side or the other using specific passages within the book.
Yeah, actually, that's one question I have. What would your time frame be for this?
So I would probably, because you guys are fast readers and more adventurous, I would probably do this over a few days. So I give more time, so I give them a lot more time. Because,
That'd be like 20 minutes to stay.
exactly, like our people over here don't, our students probably would need a full probably 20 minutes to get through the entire section.
Yeah, 20 minutes is totally doable. You stay on task.
Yeah, yes.
Did I get everyone's focus?
Yeah.
And we can keep these ones?
Yes. It does have a little air button. I think they're pretty dangerous. Hello, guys. Our second to last question. All right, 10 minutes will start now. Okay, so I'm sure you guys that are English teachers recognize that I took this for your 8th grade English. You recognize that I took this article from the workbook that you guys have for your students in English. So I took that. It is also available online. And the document that I need to you is the scaffolds that sort of help them through the reading of that. So on this side here, these 4 questions, those are all the scaffolds that would have been found on the side of while the students could fill out while they're reading that. So the students could be reading it online in the reading stations and then filling out the scaffolds. And then this side is at the end of that workbook with the article. They have a big paragraph that sort of talks about why, looking at different arguments and writing out the paragraph. And so that's what this is, just broken down into 3 different parts. So it's a little bit easier to digest. So something that, our students that are EL learners can really, they can work at the same pace that our students are working. All the rest of the students are working, but if, and it doesn't look like it's narrowing it down for them, it just makes it a little bit easier to break down with. If you have students that are a little bit more advanced, you could use the station to go through the focus questions. These are found at the end of the workbook, right beside that paragraph. So you could go through those, and then we're going to go through the documents and really analyze and look at that document. So these are just
what you're talking about is the study sync.
The study sync
reading.
workbook, yes. For social studies, there are resources online that you could also be going through with your students in the same sort of capacity. So you could have them at the reading station going through the online curriculum, going through, if you're doing government, looking at one of the Supreme Court cases, or looking at the primary source documents, or reading that chapter. And then here, we're going to go through that. Now, mind you, I gave you 10 minutes to read that. And that's because we're short of time. If it were a real class, I would be probably giving each station 20 minutes to work. Give that time. And if I have really low EL students, this could be a time where I'm going to be going through that document together and rereading it, pointing out the different points, so they can really analyze it, identify the different parts of that. This is really that time where you can really scaffold with your kids, or you can differentiate with your kids about that stuff. So, what did you guys highlight in your document for the main argument for why fiction should be used for teaching history?
It makes it interesting.
What is the main argument for why you shouldn't?
Makes it inaccurate.
What is an example of the inaccuracy they pointed out?
They brought up multiple times that they just wouldn't have enough time to form that friendship because of how heavily guarded the parents was and just how concentration camps were really ran.
How would it make it fun for the kids to read? Do they have an example of that?
It's like kids are their age.
If the kids are reading an excerpt from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas and the Boy in the Striped Pajamas is a 40-year-old, do you think our students would really relate to a 40-year-old? No. They would relate more to a 40-year-old in this book, or it would be nicer if it was a little bit higher.
Chisel.
It would make it probably a little bit more realistic if it was a 13, 14-year-old, because they did keep boys that old. But, that's the way that the person went through. So with our inaccuracies, what is a movie you guys know that has gross misacting? Really popular, but it's really inaccurate. A movie that has, it's all about history, but it's really, really accurate. That's something that a lot of people miss out. Pearl Harbor, yeah. How about Dances with Wolves? From someone from South Dakota, Dances with Wolves did a lot more did good. And some of that, I work tourism at right underneath Mount Rushmore, and I would have people seriously asking if I still fought Indians in my front yard. Wow. Yes, real answer. I'd also have, some of those inaccuracies. The dumbest question we always got was, where do you put Mount Rushmore in winter? Yes. Yeah. And so because, we're working tourism, we'd always answer with a snarky answer of Rushmore Cave, because why do you think that would you put a mountain somewhere? But it does, it does show that example that what they see in a movie or in a book, they consider facts. And so the activity you could do with your students here is you could, since the packet or the article before this is an excerpt from The Boy in Striped Pajamas, is go through and outline the inaccuracies and the accuracies within that article, or that excerpt, so that the students can really see that yes, Auschwitz was a real place. Yes, there were, there was a fence that ran around. No, there would not be a 9-year-old boy still there. No, they would have never made that friendship. No, that boy, whose father ran the camp, would know why Auschwitz was there. And so we able to identify that. But the whole reason I got my endorsement in history is because I like historical fiction. I like the stories that came with historical fiction that put a real person in my mind in that story or in that time of history and made me curious about the rest of it. So there is a positive of using it. It's just making sure that if we're using historical fiction, we're outlining exactly where the inaccuracies are at. So that students are not going, oh yes, the boy is trying to judge stuff is Anyone have questions on So go ahead in our last 4 minutes or so and fill out either one of these. I do have some pencils or pens if you need something to write with. This is the paragraph, so you can write out the paragraph, or you can fill out the blanks for that. Find everything on here. Do you notice the two differences between these two? This one, or one that's horizontal. This one can be used for middle students or low-level students. It has the same set of questions, just broken down a little bit easier for them to read.
What is that?
The first one. Like we read it all together, so they have a point saying for the point to make it a counterpoint.
Okay. I've always heard counterpoint, I've never heard point.
Yeah, you probably want to have each of them at different viewpoints.
When you get out of this, how many points you have, it says I have to give you 100. They got them all right.
Well, and when I got this, it said I got 330, but back on the page that says.
Yeah, 90 points available to you. Are the points not working on it?
This should be. As you're going through, those points should grow, and then if you get mastery,
I'm actually on like 30 points, so I guess I'm in there.
yeah, it might just not look good in the little box, but it should show when you get here to the very top. Show where your level
But
is
see,
at.
look, I got everything right, and gave me 80 out of 100. I got everything right there, and I
It
got
could
80
be
out of
because
100.
they want you to go through the video.
Oh,
and
because I
watch
skipped the
video.
videos.
Yeah. So it's making sure that you're actually listening
I
to
feel
your
like the
explanation.
scaffolded part is harder than
Oh,
this.
so if you just skip to it, you have
I do find the worst of the locked somewhere.
So this
Yeah.
is connected
Even the
to your
sentence
Google
structure itself
Classroom,
makes it
and
hard.
so if it's connected to your Google Classroom, that means that when your students
You're not
mastery,
only defined
you will be able
the
to
answer, you also have to find a way to fit it into the question. And it's not really a question, it's so what are they, yeah, you have to read their mind to find out what they want you to say.
It's just the website that we can use, and then it's just connecting that, and then you send it back. So like all of you should receive an email when I'm setting this up.
I find that my ELLs, when I provide a lot of sentence stems, they become
So I will show when I go
slower
back
to
in,
take risks.
that I can look at.
I'm not slower to take risks.
In terms of the mastery for now.
Sorry, Sherry doesn't watch any videos. Well, mine keeps telling me to log in and find out.
I just connected. And it works.
That's another thing, another tool that you can use with your students, especially with our lower level.
And that teacher, you need to kind of explain the inaccuracies.
And I think the counterpoint person.
All right, we got about
kind of
50
does
seconds
that.
left.
You know, just preview it beforehand and point out any inaccuracies that are there, basically, right?
No, I log in and start it over.
Use it in the classroom.
But I get it. That makes sense on the ones though, just because.
I skipped the videos too.
Yeah, I watched the first one like halfway and then I was like, moving on. But now if I wanted my 1,000 points, I would have to watch it.
Did you see what you could do with them?
I mean,
What you do with the points? Each chapter. I didn't find out either.
she just said that's my goal. Point system. And then there's a unit test.
All right, so do I have the focus questions from everyone? Did I put those out? All right, last station. Go ahead and wrap up. Head to the next station. You guys have all the
Little surface.
That one. Where I don't think I give the question.
Self-anchoring bias over there. Where's the first article in the man? Oh, the other one's just trying to criticize.
Are you identifying the bias within yourself now?
Yes, that was step one, right?
It all does you recognize. As a history teacher, I'm like everything in the first one is 100% false.
Oh, yeah, that's what you said. You aren't. You didn't, that was confirmation bias. You need to open your mind.
All right, what are the stations for you guys? Good. All right, 10 minutes start now. All right, so for you English teachers that are at you guys should recognize that I took this from that study state workbook. Well, high school. Yeah, okay. So in the workbook for 8th grade in Unit 2 is this article here that I took. It is also found online. So I use the online curriculum, and part of the online curriculum on StudySync, it does give you those scaffolds. So that's what I gave you here. So this side here would be the scaffold that would go with that article as they're reading through. And then this side here actually has the paragraph that they would answer, sort of concluding what they found on here. So if I have lower level students, this is what I will use. And it could be that at the reading station, they're all online on the online curriculum, going through that, answering those questions. On the social studies side, there are a lot of different resources, so I could have them going through and looking at a specific unit, chapter that they're going through, or they could be looking at some of the prior documents, like a Supreme Court case or a document, the historical document they're going through. And then we're coming down over here, and this is where we're going to go further in depth on it. So with our EL students, it would be really beneficial because we're going to be able to go through and really talk about what that article is all about. Now mind you, I gave you 10 minutes. So like I'm not expecting you guys to do that. If it was my classroom doing this would be a 2-day activity. 20 minutes at each station, give all students a chance to really read through it. If I have students that are on level or above level, I would probably use the focus questions to sort of guide what we're talking about because they don't need, they need to go further into the article, not, just the basics of it. So that's why I have these here, and these are found here. And then you can see that running prompt here. That's exactly what this is here, just broken down.
Did you retype or copy and paste? Because usually when you print for study's sake, it only prints one question at a time.
Yes, I copied and pasted. I took that and then I created my own simply so I could have both sides of that. And it could be that I did.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to go through all that study and try to print.
Yeah, and that's why if I couldn't use the online curriculum since you guys are all not English teachers and you guys are all not teaching 8th grade. So that's why I put it down. If I were that teacher, I would have all the students have their devices here, and I think these were ready, and they would be typing them into the article.
Then we have the problem of sometimes no tech ability, no Wi-Fi. So I don't know if we should always put the time in to prepare just in case. Copy and paste and spend all those hours.
It's definitely it's up to you on how you want to do it and what would help your sanity the most because we want to make sure that our teachers are seen. When they're also planning, there is a lot more work done on the front end when you're doing station rotation because you're getting a lot of material prepared. But there's not as much going, when you're going through
and like you said, if this was a 2-day activity, you're really only planning day 1.
Exactly.
Day 2 is like planning.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you had a station that happens after they've read, and you have 4 stations, you can't start someone at this station because they haven't read.
Exactly. So as you can see, one station is always left empty for that in-class flip. And so you can see that our reading station is empty because everyone has read it and has gone to the next station.
So we might have to have multiple sections of stations if you have 31 kids in your class.
It's the way that I was shown how to do this. It was looking at how many students do I want in that station and then create the amount of stations that I'm going to have. And it could be you could have 2 of the same station, and so that you could have, it broken down a little bit more.
That's what I've done before.
Yeah. Make it a little bit easier to digest and a little bit less students going on in one section. Okay, so on the article, what is the main argument for the point?
It makes it relevant and it's engaging these fiction.
And what is the counter argument?
That it's dangerous.
What are examples? Yeah, what are some examples of that dangerous?
That it's teaching them false ideas, the example with, the kids would have been murdered on as soon as they arrived. They would not have been talking to each other.
Yeah.
So an example I always think of, and something that the first group actually talked about too, is have you guys ever seen or heard of Dances with Wolves?
Yes.
It is the definition of inaccuracy when it comes to identifying the relationship between people in South Dakota, which I'm born and raised in South Dakota, so it was a huge insult to me, that movie. And because there is this idea that if it's in a movie or it's in an article, it's true. And it's sort of a sad thing, but Americans are a little bit like that. And as someone that worked tourism in South Dakota underneath Mount Rushmore, I would get questions like, do you fight Indians in your front yard? Yes, real question, I got this.
In the 21st century.
Exactly. But then it also, no, I do not. But so it brings those questions, and then, well, if they fight Indians, then I would get the question of, well, then where do you put Mount Rushmore in the winter? Yes. And because us as tourism, when you get those really dumb answers, you answer with sarcasm, but always tell them Rushmore Cave. So it was seriously. But so that an activity that you can do with your students if you're looking at something like this, where you're looking at that that inaccuracies, is the article or the thing before this was an excerpt from the Boy Instructor Challenge. So you guys could go in your teacher station and go through and identify what's accurate and what's not accurate. So sort of saying, yes, Auschwitz was real. Yes, there was a fence that went around. Yes, they probably wore the striped pajamas. No, a 9-year-old would not still be around. No, it would have been very heavily guarded. No, that boy whose father ran the camp would know what Auschwitz was and why they were in Auschwitz. So being able to identify that so your students are aware that, hey, this is, this is a good story, and it does give that sort of idea of what was going on in the camp. But we do have to identify the different things that are not true. Just sort of as a way to get them through it and understand exactly what's going on when we're using that. On the point, I got my endorsement in history because I loved it because he gave me a person in a specific point, and it helped me relate to that. And so that's why I got into history, because I was curious on, is that true? Is that person actually real? Oh, let me look into that. But I'm a research nerd, so like not all of our kids are research nerds. They're going to actually go in and do the research behind the historical fiction. And not all of our, like I have some books that are historical fiction, and they would go in and they would have an excerpt at the end saying, not all of this is true, these are the real people that are true and these aren't, but not all authors are going to do that. And so being able to say, all right, let's look through and talk about this to make it a little bit easier for them. So we have only about 2 minutes left, so if you want, go through and answer one of these. You can either do this side or this side. I would suggest this side because it's easier. Identifying the different points. I will try to get it groups.
Yeah, well, when we figured something started.
Yeah. Do you guys see the difference between these two?
Oh, no, I did not.
So this one here is a broken down, so it's for our EL students or our low-level students. So it's the same exact questions, just broken down in easier words and easier for the kids to understand. So if we have those that have EL students, we can give this to them instead. Or if we have higher level students, we can give this to them. So just another way to really break it down for the students that we'll be working with. We have a little over a minute left.
Interesting. I like automatically drawn to this stuff. I kind of like the way this is broken down.
We just got, I just don't have, I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't know what that is. We just
I think they mean paragraph 1 of
For question 2? Yeah, of the counterpoint.
Yeah, I think it'd be better if they use the word claim and counterclaim.
I know. I was like, I would know point, like counterpoint, but I would never remember point. Like when I was going through, I was like, what is the other word for the other side? Just the other side. It's getting used to what they identify as a specific thing. Yes, that would be so very nice.
So in all of studies, think they use point and counterpoint?
No, not all of, I mean, I don't think that's a blanket, I don't know, you know what I mean. I've never seen this.
All right, guys. So you can either go back to your original seats or you can just hang out here, but we're going to come back together. All right, so at each station, you do not have to do this. I just want to point out, I have envelopes at each station, and these are the exit tickets. So I would put those exit tickets at the end of my, my day, and it asks them, what is the one thing you learned from today, and what didn't you understand? Now, if I were to do this in a real classroom, this would be a 2-day activity. So it would give each group probably about 20 minutes, especially for that reading section, giving them the full time to actually read the full article, really look at it. They would probably need about 20 minutes. So it could be something that I have at the end of each day, or it could be at the end of the entire rotation. It's really up to you. This could also be a digital Google form, adding that quickly and adding that. I just have it printed out because not all stations are online. And so I have the printout form here. So the nice thing about using station rotation is the fact that it allows for modifications and differentiation. So if I had picked out the groups, I could have a specific group that are just EL students and just avid kids and just, so that I can make sure that each station is really fitting the needs. When I'm at the reading station, I could give each group a different article to read based on their reading level or what I really want to focus on. Or I could give them additional scaffolds to make sure that they're understanding that. At the teacher station, I talked about the fact that if I had higher level students, I would probably be using those focus questions to go more in depth in the article. But with my low level students, I'm going to just focus on finding those main points and identifying why we're reading this article. Grammar station, maybe I have a group of students that are really low on nouns and they're really having difficulties, but I have another station or another group that's really having difficulties with verbs. I can do that. I can assign specific things to those students through Google Classroom on Khan Academy. And because I have those and I've assigned them online, I can actually see on my Khan Academy where each student's at and what they're excelling at. So it could be a continuous thing. Their kids, I'm giving them 20 minutes today to go through, okay, this person has reached, they fully know how to do a noun. I no longer need to put them on nouns. I'm going to move them to verbs or commas or whatever. And giving them the time to really learn that. The political cartoons, it should be something really new to all of our students, but if they have more time, it could be I'm going to give them time to create their own propaganda poster. How would they identify that? How would they create a propaganda poster using some of the specific things that we're seeing in the examples I gave? Or for our EL students, I pointed out that there is a modified document analysis worksheet, so I could give that to them instead of the big advanced one to make sure that they're still getting the same amount of information. It's just a little bit easier to digest. And then finally, the research station. If you noticed on that document, I gave you every single thing that you would need to write that argumentative essay. I've given them the ability to go ahead if they need to and go at their own pace. So instead of at the very end, all of the students are working on their research paper, they're doing it throughout the entire unit. And they're looking at specific points, and I'm going to add to that as I'm going through to give them, but it gives them the ability to keep going ahead if they need that. So those are different modifications. Turn and talk to your group and talk about ways that you would flip your class or any of these different questions. So what kind of supports would you need to do something like this in your class? How could you use it in your class? How would you modify an assignment like this to fit your students in your class? And then what did you like about the station rotation in class flip? So just about 2 minutes to work on that.
One thing I liked was, so I have to ask a question.
Yeah.
Was it the essay or was it the reading that you considered the flip with the, like, what
The reading. The reading would be the flip.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the part that I would probably ask them to read outside of class after we had finished reading the excerpt from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. And that's sort of the homework for the night, and then they're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. Well, if it was completely online, they're not really going to have that ability for our students that don't have internet at home.
I mean, even if it was printed, they wouldn't read it at home.
Yeah.
You don't do homework.
And that's, yes, and that's the other reason, because our students don't always do their homework. So now you're sort of giving them the time to do it on their own, and they're able to do it at their own pace, but they're doing it in class so you know they're actually doing it.
I love something like the more I look at it together, the more I connect to. So I tend to keep my whole class together.
So I'm like, my brain is stuck on figuring out how to attach that, give that to them if I wanted to use Khan Academy.
I did, she did mention that link, and I could imagine using it.
You know, like, that kind of stuff. So I struggle with other things, like, figuring out how to do the tech part of it.
patient for getting help.
That's kind of where I'm stuck on.
Maybe help in this table, and I don't see that being like a problem.
Yeah, that's kind of my struggle.
Well, the study sync does it have some grammar built in or no?
It has, it's not online, but it has tons of grammar. It's just paper. So you can't really, they haven't gone online with the lessons, so, but there's absolutely gobs, too much, you know, on the paper. And I tried using some of that, but didn't get far with the kids, even with parts of speech, because they really, you know, can't even identify a verb. So we kind of
Well,
down.
so maybe that. Yeah, I like doing rotations every now and then.
Yeah,
me too. I like it. Keep that short attention span. It's like, okay, moving on.
All right, guys, we're going to bring back together. All right, this group over here, what did you guys talk about?
We talked about the difficulty of keeping students on task when they're in groups.
Mm-hmm. So what you could have, especially with our online station, since you really can't see what they're doing, you're using those Go Guardian, and you have it just set up on your computer so you can see exactly where they're at, and you can sort of say, hey, we're not doing that. And you notice that when I was at the teacher station, I got up and I walked around a little bit too to sort of make sure that you guys were on task. I'm not nervous about you guys, but your students double checking, making sure that they're on. What about you guys? Yeah, what did you guys talk about?
Oh, well, one was setting up expectations and routines and maybe doing it with something simple at first. And then once I've got the hang of that, being able to add to it. The other thing was, if you're going to do it over the course of 4 days, do you do 2, and that way they only get through 2 and then 2, you know, just a few of those little things.
Yeah. What about this group back here? What's one thing you talked about? I'm going to make you guys talk.
We talked about using the propaganda posters in, at any level, really. We just finished World War I in U.S. history, and we're headed into the Great Depression. We'll be using those as well. So it gives kids different perspectives and makes them look a little deeper than they think they can.
Nice. And then how about you guys?
We said we like using stations now and then, but sometimes it's hard to manage the different rates of work. Like some kids just need more time.
And some finish way too early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finding that perfect fit for your class is always the difficulty. So on here, there are these different reasons right here is sort of why you should be using blended learning. Finding that perfect fit between that face-to-face that is so important for our students to see. Being able to sit down and talk with our students or work with each other, but also use some of those online resources that are available to them, especially all that online curriculum that you should all have access to now. It also gives them the agency of they have to do their own work. They're going to be at some point, especially for our high school students, those kids are going to have to go to some kind of, hopefully they're going to college or somewhere else, and they're not going to have a teacher in front of them giving them, you have to do this, you have to do this. So giving them that time where they're independently working and they're learning that, hey, if I want to do well, I have to do it myself. And learning that in a place that, is safe and you can sort of help support them as they're doing that, just benefits them in the future. It also gives them the opportunity to connect what they're learning in class with the outside. So for the propaganda, we're looking at real life experiences. When we're looking at the bias, we're identifying the bias within ourselves. Where are we biased at? And so we're able to connect that to things that they might see outside. So, hey, I'm reading this article. Oh, I'm sort of biased because of that. And it's sort of helping them use that vision when they're reading an article or something like that. They're also being creative. We're looking at that kind of stuff And if you would have gone further into it, which I know I didn't give a whole lot of time, in the research part, there is a lot of stuff where you're looking at, you know, an article and looking at information from the Holocaust Museum and then talking about it. And so you're being really creative and really showing some of that stuff. So these are just some of the reasons on why I suggest using blended learning. And then these are the benefits for the in-class flip. It encourages self-paced learning. It creates student-centered learning environments, and it allows for more formative assessments. For station rotation, it's smaller communities. It allows for more intervention. It allows for you to go one-on-one with your students, even though you might have a class of 30 students. It makes it possible for the teacher to spend more time with their students in a specific spot and be able to help them without, you know, 29 other students getting in the way. So high school teachers will recognize this. This is how it connects to that triple E that I talked about in October. Wow, October. So active learning. Students are actively learning. They're not just passive learners sitting here listening to something. They're actually participating in the learning themselves. Co-engagement over here, that was full collaborative. They're working, they're learning from each other. They're taking what everyone else is learning and they're taking that together. Authentic context, they're learning something that is going to be relevant no matter where they go. They're talking about bias, they're talking about stereotypes, propaganda, all that kind of stuff. Modern learning, I'm checking for understanding right here. I'm checking to see if they're understanding the information, where they're getting lost, and being able to address it immediately. And then tech to self connections. I'm taking what they're doing online and connecting it to the everyday. And so you can see the 3 ways that I'm connecting it to engagement, enhancement, and extension. All right, so just to showcase some standards, take this over here. So we do have the EdTech standards, empowered learner, digital citizenship, and creative communicator, all within this lesson. I'm also meeting these standards in reading and writing, speaking and listening and language, the social studies skills, and the history skills. All of that stuff in this one lesson, all those standards. So you're able to meet a lot of standards in a 2-day activity, which is a really big positive for you guys, but it's also really helping to make sure that it's enforcing all those standards and our students are able to understand. So things to remember, if you guys are interested in this, you've never done something like this, do not go into your class and say, I want to do all of my lessons with this. It will wear you out and you will get, you know, it's exhausting. It does take a lot more work to get this set up than some of the other lessons. The positive is the fact that once it's set up, you get to sit here and really participate with your students and talk with your students rather than trying to get them working on whatever. I was able to sit down and have full conversations, which I might not have been able to do with that many students in a day that if I would have not had that. Expect things to not work perfectly the first time. Just like our students with technology, they do not know how to do this. Going them step by step and showing them how to do this is going to be that first step. And it will not work the first time. It's a process of getting students comfortable, but once they're comfortable with it, they're going to have that expectation. They're going to know exactly what they're going to do and go from there. So I introduced several new programs in here because you guys are teachers and I have confidence with you. Do not do that with your students. If your students have never used Khan Academy before, do not give them independent time to just go on Khan Academy. If your students have not looked at a document analysis before, do not have them do that. Do the activities that they're already familiar with so that, you know, they're comfortable with it and you're not having to stop what you're doing at the teacher station and go to the next station to help make sure every student's on task. Figure out how you will inform the students how to change stations. So I had just a little ding. You could have music. You could have calling out a specific phrase. For Go Guardian, you could have them lock the screens so that all the kids' screens are off. All right, that's my cue. When in doubt, ask for help. If you are wanting to do something like this, that's what I'm here for. Please let me know. I can sit down and go through this with you. And finally, before you pick what kind of resources you're looking at, look for your goals. Let's see. Oh, one more. Identify what you're wanting to do in each station, and then pick out the tech or the resources that you're going to use for each station. So saying, yes, I want to look at this because we just talked about the boy in the striped pajamas. these are the different stations I think are going to be important because that's what we're going up to. We're working on that article, moving into an argumentative essay. This is what I want to focus on, then pick the tech. So just some stuff to really look at as they're going through this, or if you're interested in doing something like this with your students. And then these are some resources to get started. So I have my contact information. The information I got for this is based off of Catlin Tucker. It's lovely books here. Whoa. Catlin Tucker is sort of the expert in blended learning in the classroom. And she has this link right here. Should be right here. No, this one right here. This link right here should take you to her YouTube channel, and it has how she's using StudySync in her high school class. So for your English teachers, you can go there, and it goes step by step on the different ways she's using blended learning in her classroom. I also have a link to a bunch of blended learning resources that you can use in here. And then over here are a bunch of the resources that I use today. So for the document analysis, I got that from the National Archives. I use Khan Academy, the U.S. Holocaust Museum. Satori is a timeline, a resource timeline, so you can use a bunch of different stuff in there. So just a lot of resources that you can use. If you have questions about this, please let me know, and I can set something up with you guys. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.